I was watching the lamestream media coverage of the dossier issue, and here's how it goes. I'll just give the shorthand. Today's show, Good Morning America. This is how it goes. Jeff Flake gave the most courageous second day of comments after he announced he's stepping down from the Senate. Quoting, going into long details about the children's story he referenced in his speech, and then in like 15 seconds, in other news, a report came out that the DNC and Hillary Clinton paid for this dossier that was compiled basically by the Russians. And coming up, what's trending on YouTube? They just spent 15 seconds on it. So Trump of course, tries to amplify this today. Yesterday was really good. He's right. The idea that we have dozens of staffers and 15 lawyers working for Bob Mueller right now. Bob Mueller, by the way, who frankly should recuse himself after everything we've learned about this Uranium One situation. But we have dozens of people working on the taxpayer's dime, working in Bob Mueller's office to do exactly what? Is this going to be part of their Russia collusion investigation? Is this going to be part of it? Are we going to expand the investigation into what happened with this dossier that was then brought by John McCain, delivered to the White House in January? Don't forget that this dossier by this Christopher Steele, British agent fellow who got the information from his Kremlin sources, that this is then delivered by McCain. This is all the establishment strikes back kind of stuff. And by the way, we have to remind everybody that there is also one Republican person, entity, who also paid for this dossier. Well, that'd be a fun little guessing game. Who could it have been? Well, John McCain is the one who, I don't know. Was it someone who ran against Trump in 2016? Maybe. The whole thing, the more you look into this, it's that the finger is always pointed back at you. Russia collusion, wagging their fingers at Trump. It turns out they oversee the uranium sale that went to Russian interests after Russian interests funneled money to the Clinton Foundation, and after Russian interests Moscow paid Clinton to give a $500,000 speech, Bill Clinton, just as Hillary Clinton's Secretary of State. This CFIUS board approves the sale of 20% of uranium interests in the United States to Russia. See, I just start with that. Forget all the other stuff about the diffusion GPS. And people hear these names that they don't mean anything to them. The more I think about this uranium deal, the more that should have been the first red flag. But remember, we get a lot of these people. Rosenstein was a Maryland U.S. attorney at the time. Mueller was at the FBI at the time. These people were kind of all there. They were all hovering around the Justice Department at the time. Very, very odd. And I said this yesterday. If someone off the street is asked, do you think Russia should take 20% of our uranium? That, by the way, is used to make nuclear weapons. Who would say, oh, yeah, definitely. I'll prove that. Oh, yeah. Get a bunch of cabinet officials together, and that's a good idea. So that in and of itself is a red flag and should be for anyone looking at this situation. And let's not forget that we have several former either Clinton attorneys or Clinton donors who were working among the legal team for Bob Mueller. That also shouldn't have been allowed. You see what I'm saying? How is that allowed? Like, wait a second. You actually worked for Hillary Clinton's Clinton during the email investigation for the private server, and now you're working for Bob Mueller. You really can't even make this up. It's just so preposterous. 855-40-LAURA. We had a great event last night for Fox. The Fox News put on a event for the Ingraham angle, which launches on Monday, which is hard to believe. It seems like this has been the long build-up to the show, but we had a lot of fun. Rupert Murdoch came, and he spoke, and a lot of folks showed up, and a lot of senators. Senator Cruz came, and he and I have had an interesting relationship over the years, like a little testy at times, but he's been really good lately. I mean, he's been fantastic. And I said, "Are you weeping over Flake?" Like every single senator that came, how are you doing? And Roger Wicker from Mississippi said, what are you talking about? How are you doing after the announcement of Jeff Flake's departure? And they actually thought it was serious. I'm joking, okay? Everyone's like on edge. Inhofe was hilarious from Oklahoma. I said, because he's the big anti-climate change guy. I said, Senator, there's a big climate change protest outside of this building because they know you're in it. He's, what? I said, oh yeah, they're all outside. They have like SPF 70 on, and they have like reflective shields, and I just went up goofing. People have got to get a sense of humor, though. But then he laughed and he said, Laura, it's been a long time since your MSNBC show. I said, oh my God, that's how long you've been coming on my show, since 1996. I don't know which one of us that ages more. That was fun, though. They had a lot of cookies. I figure you've really kind of made it when they make a cookie after the name of your show. And now Alexis, I think, took a bunch of the cookies. Did you get it? Elisa's here with us. Elisa, did you get any of the cookies?
I didn't get a cookie, but I think they should have had your face on one of them.
Oh, a face on the cookie?
Yeah.
Alexis has a whole bunch of cookies for the kids. But then they had a bus outside. I didn't even know the bus was there. They had a bus wrapped with my face and the name of the show. And someone said, have you seen the bus? I said, what are you talking about? There's a bus outside with their face on it. I said, first of all, that's scary. Car crash is going to happen outside of the building that we were at. And then as I got downstairs after the thing was over, someone said, well, your bus just pulled away. I was like, I hope that's not a metaphor. The bus just rolls out. I said, we had a party bus. We could have driven around the Capitol a couple times, like done the Ferris Bueller thing, out the sunroof.
Hands out the window.
Yeah, out the window. Yeah, 10 o'clock. Woo. We're doing a live rehearsal tonight at 10. Yeah, we got to get used to the schedule.
Yeah.
Got to get used to it. I did the first nap I've done. I don't even know when. I think since I was 3. I'm not kidding. My mother said I never napped. I was a nightmare. Shock. I never napped. So when I was 3, I remember jumping out of the crib. My mother turned the vacuum cleaner on. I heard it go on when I was 3, and I was like, this is my chance to escape the crib. So I catapulted out. My mother chased me around the house. But that's my memory of napping. I didn't like napping. I felt imprisoned when I napped. But last night I went home. Yesterday afternoon I went home, and I actually fell asleep for a half hour. Oh no. I pushed Jimmy and Annie out of the room. Those dogs they take up the entire bed. Junkyard and Hellhound take up the entire bed, and I think that's part of the problem. I'm not to talk about myself for the whole show, but I do have a question for my listeners, because you guys help me on stuff. How do I learn to nap more efficiently, or nap, period? James, do you nap? You ever nap? You get up early, so I bet you do.
No.
Sometimes?
Well, I used to back when I was working late nights.
For the hockey.
Exactly.
Hockey announcer.
Yep, I used to grab like a half-hour nap there, but not anymore.
Does it help? Some people say napping makes you more tired.
I think napping makes it worse.
You
wake up and you're so drowsy when you're out of it, and it's light out.
I kind of feel like that because Raymond or something was knocking on my bedroom door yesterday saying, you got to get to Fox. You got to get to Fox, because we had a rehearsal. And I said, what? Because I never nap. So
yeah, you wake up in a haze. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. What time is it? But
Especially
how do you nap?
Dark.
I can't nap well. But I think I was just I slept maybe 3 hours the night before. I gotta learn to nap. Do you nap, Elisa?
No,
ever?
I don't. I mean, occasionally. It's nice every once in a while when you have a lot of time, but to work it in your schedule is hard. Like people say, oh, you have to schedule a nap. You have the radio show in the morning and the TV at night. Because I get the kids at school. I got to get the kids, a little homework. But then you have to schedule a nap. That just doesn't compute to me. But I think I'm going to have to. Otherwise, I don't know. But how do you nap? Because you don't even sleep at night. So
I do send emails at all. So that's part of the problem. Ariana Huffington, who's the sleep master, would say, Laura, you must turn off all your electronics. You must the light sources are killing you. Even if you have your cell phone off and it's next to your bed, apparently that's still bad. And Wi-Fi, once you start thinking about it, turn your Wi-Fi off in your house. People say turn your Wi-Fi off, like the entire system off when you sleep.
Really?
Yeah. Turn your Wi-Fi off, your keypad on your alarm system. My keypad on my alarm system could light up LaGuardia Airport runways. This thing is so bright. And I said
to Alexis, is there any way I could get this thing? Oh, no, that's the way it comes. That's the way it comes? How can it be in your bedroom? It's a beacon of light.
Put a little Post-it note over it.
That's what Chris said. Put a cardboard, like for your checks, that your checks come in, the thing for your checks. So you pay all this money for this alarm system, and the light is just I'm telling you, it is like a spotlight. And I mean, you could see the silhouette of the dogs because it's such a bright light. And then I have this is a really boring conversation. It's what's on my mind. Then I have a landline phone, which I know is like really dates me, but I have a landline phone next to my bed. That also, I got to get an old rotary phone. That also has a big screen on it. This Panasonic deal, but it's expensive. I got all these phones and you can't buy a regular phone that's like a normal phone. I'm going back to a rotary dial. Can you still get those? Because there's no light on them. Remember the sound? Lisa has no idea what I'm talking about.
Definitely used to have one of those at my house.
The rotary dials, it's the anticipation when you would dial someone's number.
You could probably get it on Amazon, right?
Yeah, like an old one, but I don't think it actually doesn't work because you have to actually wire it. Like, it has to be wired into the actual wall, but I'm getting rid of all these lights. And so I have the light for the phone, light for the keypad, and then I have a bank of lights to control my lights. Like buttons to turn off the chandelier, turn off the hall lights. All of that smart home technology is one of the biggest scams I bought into. I bought into all of that.
Or a disco? I mean, light from all over the place.
And then I said, Dimitri, can you turn off the lights? He said, I don't know how. To the basement. I said, I can see all these lights are on. I've tried to push all the buttons and he can't turn them off. He starts crying. I said, just go turn the lights off. I said, Mom, can we just get an on-off switch? So I put all this smart stuff in. I swear I'm going to rip it all out and just put on-off. I don't care if you leave it on. At least you can know how to turn it on and off. Stupid.
You should get it voice activated, and then you can just say off.
I could just see
I'm doing
now.
The clap on. I'm doing the clap on, clap off. That's what I'm doing, like the old people do. I'm going to get a jitterbug phone. I'm going to get the jitterbug phone with the big knobs. Big, what do they call buttons? I'm tired. I'm going to get the rotary dial phone. And I'm going to get the on-off switches, get rid of all that.
Laura, you're about to start a TV show next week, and it sounds like you're heading down to Florida to retire already.
Going back.
The jitterbug phone,
I'm going back.
Get the white shoes.
I'm going back. I'm going to get the orthopedic shoes. Don't knock those. And guess what? I dropped the kids off at school this morning, and I was in a rush to get out the door, and I went in to say a few prayers in the church, and I looked down. Look what I have on.
I noticed those when you walked in.
Merrill slippers.
Oh,
so,
is that
these
what
are
slippers?
slippers.
Oh my
These
God.
are slippers. I looked down, and I didn't have time to put on my boots yet. But I looked down, and there's a woman who's like in the next pew, and she's, I don't know, doing the rosary or something. She looks at me, and I look at her, and I just shrugged. I'm like, what? I'm here. Jesus wore sandals. Now I'm back to saying Jesus wore sandals.
I kind of thought you didn't have enough going on, so you became a nurse, and you're doing a night shift.
Yeah, the black shoes for the night shift nurse. All right, 855-40-LAURA. Napping, how do you do it? Do you do it? Is it smart for me to do or not? My listeners always help me. Jeff Flake continues to be lionized. I'm going to read the latest, most sickening piece about him as the Russia connection with the Hillary Clinton campaign and Obama gets deeper and deeper. We're going to take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show as the claims that Republicans are moving away from Trump. Remember what Flake said the other day? They're going to be more of me. Seems to already be exploded as a complete and total lie, fabrication, myth. And I'm going to tell you why that is. As they're pushing for this tax reform, a lot of barricades in the way. Remember, Billionaire at the Barricades on sale everywhere. And a lot of people brought the book last night, which was great. So make sure to get your copy of the book. It'll explain Trump and what will come next. Trump is just one person, but this movement continues. We'll take a break. Don't go away. Have you ever felt tricked or deceived into buying something? Nothing is worse than being lied to by a salesman. Well, many timeshare owners know exactly that feeling. If you made a big mistake and bought a timeshare you now regret, there's hope for you out there. You can finally undo that crooked contract and start putting that money back into your wallet. Why keep paying for something you no longer want to use? If you want out of that timeshare forever, contact my friends at resortrelease.com. They'll legally and permanently end that timeshare contract, guaranteed. That's a money-back guarantee. And if you don't get out of your timeshare, you don't pay a penny. They're Better Business Bureau accredited, A+ rated, and they get the job done. So stop paying for that timeshare you felt like you were scammed into purchasing. Visit resortrelease.com or call 855-66-LAURA. That's 855-66-LAURA. 2018's maintenance fee bills will arrive any day now. Get out now before you pay that fee. Visit resortrelease.com or call them at 855-66-LAURA to see if you qualify.
Well, I think both of them are right on that. I mean, the tit for tat stuff it gets tedious. That having been said, there are real substantive differences between the old guard and the new conservative populace. And that's all laid out in Billionaire at the Barricades. And this debate has been going on since really recent days, 1988, 92. The old guard was challenged by Reagan in 1976, and then again in 1992, Ross Perot and Pat Buchanan. And we had the Tea Party rise. We had, of course, the rise of Trump. We had Huckabee and Santorum, the blue-collar conservatives. And then Donald Trump was able to, put together a winning platform and a winning message, and brash and in your face. That was a substantive difference that he had, not just a stylistic difference. That's what people, I think, are missing. It's not just style. And people say, well, Flake just doesn't like Trump's style. No. This is about trade. This is about immigration. This is about military interventionism. This is about our role in the world. And I will share with you a couple of the other comments that Corker made today on MSNBC that indicates this is a real divide of substance in this party. And so we'll get into all of that. Victor Davis Hanson's going to join us. Cannot wait. He is one of my favorite. We have an update about the Las Vegas mass shooting. More questions remain and odd twists and turns in this case. We'll get to all of that on your healthy radio addiction. Talking the other day about home security and how a lot of the old home security systems aren't really used by members of law enforcement because they're not reliable. They're easily thwarted, and the smart criminals know how to get around them. Well, this is why more people are looking into Blink Home Security. And Blink is, they're discreet, super affordable. They're video cameras that you install yourself in minutes. They're wire-free. They run on 2 batteries that last 2 years. Blinks go both inside and outside, and they're motion activated, so they're always on duty. And the instant that these Blink cameras detect something, they send a video alert to your smartphone. So basically, Blink stops crime before it even happens. And Blink's live feed option, which is very, very cool, people, lets you monitor your home from your smartphone. So no more worrying about, you lock the door, the kids are home. So check out this deal I have for you. You get 3 Blink cams for what the other guys charge for just 1. Just go to blinkprotect.com/Laura. That's blinkprotect.com/order. Plus you order now and you get an extra 10% off. Again, blinkprotect.com/Laura. His presence in the lamestream media will continue to, will grow over the next year or so. Until he leaves and just ultimately retires, he will be the go-to guest for MSNBC to criticize the president, along with Jeff Flake. So you just get used to seeing them. Well, if you're going to divide America, hey, newsflash, America, especially the Republican Party, has been divided for many, many, many years. Reagan saw the division and stepped into that vacuum. And we saw the division begin to really pick up steam in 2006 when George W. Bush pushed amnesty, when we kept expanding these trade deals that didn't work. We tried to put our friends on the Supreme Court like Harriet Miers. And we ran the ultimate establishment, pro-military intervention, pro-democracy, democratizing the rest of the world, John McCain in 2008. The division kept growing. And then the pot really saw its lid blow off with Donald Trump becoming elected president in 2016. So this idea that Donald Trump caused the division, you know what causes the division? Pushing policies that the people don't want for year after year after year. That's what caused the party to be divided. Joining us now, Victor Davis Hanson, one of our favorite columnists, writers, thinkers. We have a lot to get to with him, and he joins us now. VDH, I know you were weeping when you watched the Flake speech a couple of days ago, and I just wanted to check in to see if you were okay.
I'm okay, but you know what really bothers me, and I think you and your listeners, is that these people virtue signal, so they always conflate legal and illegal immigration. and that therefore they say anybody who is opposed to enforcing an immigration law is therefore against all legal immigration, and then they're racist, homophobe, nativist. And then when you look at their agendas, what they're pushing is usually some type of huge migrant labor program for their corporate friends. So the person who is conservative and says, I believe in the sanctity of the law, and I support legal immigration in measured manner, but I don't support the flagrant violation of the law, they become the bigot, and the person who wants to bring in cheap labor to drive down wages and help friends becomes the virtue signaler. And I think that's what really killed Flake. And, you know, another thing that's really bothersome, if he was ahead right now in the primary polls, 60-40, or if he was behind, or if he was ahead 60-40 or he's losing as he is 20-80, he would say something like this. But if he was neck and neck, and you know that well better than I do, he would be a big Trump supporter. If he didn't need Trump, he can sound off. But if he did need Trump in a tight race, he wouldn't do this. Same thing was true of Corker. Same thing was true with McCain when he campaigned recently. And I don't understand the media when they say if Corker leaves or Flake leaves, the Republican Party's in tatters. I mean, it's the best thing that could ever happen for Trump, because those states were more than likely going to put in conservative senators that are more attuned to the Trump agenda. So I don't understand how
the analysis. VDH. It's like
crazy.
It's like November never happened. It's like they're still in 2004 mode. It's like none of the intervening years happened. Trump didn't get elected. Pennsylvania didn't go for Trump. Wisconsin, Ohio didn't go for Trump. TPP is still around. It's amazing.
It is, and in a very weird way, Trump is a Nietzschean figure that if it doesn't kill him, he gets stronger, and that's the way he is. And if you look at all the people who have tried to pick fights with him, whether it's the NFL or whether it's Corker or whether it's Flake or whether it's Megyn Kelly, for whatever reason, justified or not justified, whether Trump was they don't end up well. Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, he's a master brawler. So why do these people go out and try to go head-to-head against him when they think that because he can be unpopular sometimes, that his message is unpopular? On every issue, his message is 52, 53%, whether it's immigration, whether it's trade, whether it's energy expansion, whether it's deregulation. And yet they go after him and they get in these big fights, whether it's taking a knee, or tearing down a statue. And then they wonder what's wrong with the country, and they start blaming the country when they've confused the message and the messenger. And it happened with my colleagues at National Review. It happens with the Republican intellectual establishment. They go after Trump, and then they wonder, why aren't people flocking to me, when they don't understand that he's an emissary of a message that people want, and they feel that he was the necessary medicine to deal with the disease. And I don't know why they have to go this Groundhog Day experience, each week.
In the Wall Street Journal today, there's a editorial, Jeff Flake's public service, and at the end it says he is identifying the battle lines in the GOP. I think Buchanan did that in '92, but that's all right. He's identifying the battle lines in the GOP. The Bannon wing wants to redefine the party around hostility to immigration and trade, but its main animating principle is anger against whoever happens to be in power. This isn't a principle that can govern, even if it manages to win a few elections. That's how the Journal describes conservative populism, economic nationalism, hostility to immigrants. It's exactly what Jeb Bush said. And hostility, you're anti-trade, you're anti-immigration, and that you're just angry, Victor.
Well, what he needs to do is do what Mitt Romney did. He should move to Massachusetts and run for governor, and he might have a chance. Or William Weld, or any people of his same persuasion. But he's in Arizona, which is a red conservative state, and the only reason he is where he is that, like John McCain and others, he practiced subterfuge. So he campaigns in the past on closed borders, and he campaigns on conservative social issues, and then when he gets into the Senate, he does what most people do in Washington. He moves far to the left. And unfortunately for him, he happened to get caught in a cycle where people were sick of it, and they had somebody like Trump that called people out. And so he's the wrong person for Arizona. He'd be perfect for Massachusetts, and he thinks that Massachusetts Republicans are somehow representative of conservatism, and they're not. And it's a tragic fact, but he should make the necessary corrections. He should leave Arizona if he wants to further his political career and try it out as a rhino in Massachusetts or New York or something. There's been people who are successful for that. But don't lecture the people in Arizona whose views that he no longer and probably never did really reflect.
Fox News has a poll out today that shows that Donald Trump's overall approval number is 38%, but among Republicans, it is 83%. Among those who voted for him, 87%. It's kind of confusing, but nevertheless, the overall approval number is 38%. Do you think, number one, that this is accurate? Does it matter? And is this an aversion to style and tone over substance?
All of that. I think that's about where he was in October of last year before the election. So I always add 5 points because the polls, whether deliberately or not, underreport his actual support. And then they're all taken in isolation. Donald Trump, when you're out in your yard thinking and you read a Donald Trump tweet or you turn on ABC News, you say, oh, that bothers me. I don't think he's a good guy. And you answer a poll. But compared to what? If you run and that's what happened to the Democrats. Compared to Hillary Clinton, he was polling 38 and 39. The actual poll was probably 45. And then compared to Hillary, it was 47. So I think that if he were to run against a Democratic candidate right now, it would be neck and neck. And I think that if the economy keeps growing and it stays at 3% and he avoids a messy optional war abroad, and I think there's a good chance he can do both, then I not only think he'll get reelected, but I think he'll do pretty well in the midterms. If he doesn't get economic growth and we get into another type of, Libya or something, we go into Syria, then I'm not sure that that's going to happen. So I guess what I'm saying is he got 90% of the Republican vote last November. McCain got 90, Romney got 93. So he didn't do any worse than any other Republican, but he did better because he brought in independents and Republican working class people in 9 states that they weren't able to do. And yet all these never Trump people say we had all this influence. They didn't. They had zero influence.
They had no influence.
After it was all over, after
never
all
Trump.
the standard, it had nothing. He got the same amount of Republican support as McCain and roughly the same as Romney, which begs the question, well, maybe your anger at him brought in other people who said, if these guys are angry at Trump, maybe I should go re-register and become a Republican for one election.
Hey, Victor, there was a funny tweet that came out. That was, I think, sent a couple days ago. It was after there was a photo of Bannon, Stephen Miller, and me, I guess, at my book party last week. And I don't know who tweeted. Maybe I tweeted. I can't even remember at this point. But Bill Kristol responded, "See no evil, hear no evil, and just evil." And so I saw Stephen Miller last night, and I said, I guess I was the evil one. You guys were just the see no and hear no. But this is, so they go right from 0 to 60. It's like, we don't just disagree with you. You're all evil people doing exactly what the left does, demonizing people personally. You're an evil, horrible, awful, rotten person because you believe the country should have borders, our culture should be protected, and our sovereignty should be maintained.
I don't understand that. And then on other issues, if I pick up the Weekly Standard, it's like I'm on Venus because on issues like abortion or on the administrative state, they have writers in there that are very sensible.
Right.
So I'm thinking to myself, they agree with the Keystone Pipeline, the Dakota Pipeline. They agree with a lot of the stuff of deregulation that Trump is doing. They love Neil Gorsuch. And then they get to the point where they never ask themselves, how did we get something that take Trump out of the equation? Privately, in secret, we would agree with 90% of what Trump's doing, but we can't say that.
No, but you know why? You know why, Victor? Because they're absolute. They're absolute radicals and dogmatic on immigration and trade and wars. They want to keep the war machine. I'm sorry, but I think it's all that. They're dogmatic.
I think they feel also, in a career sense, they're orphaned. And they can't say that Trump was right. He read the country better than I did.
Yeah.
He's right on most of the issues because they have no constituency now because they've insulted the Republican 90% of the people
That's
who
an
voted
island of
for
misfit pundits. Victor, I have to play a soundbite for you, being the historian that you are. Anne Applebaum, who actually I like her a lot. She was on MSNBC today, and she has a new book out about Stalin and the purge in Ukraine and the great famine in Ukraine. Listen to how this is introduced and how she ties Stalin to Trump.
Anne Applebaum. She's the author of the new book, Red Famine, Stalin's War on Ukraine. Your timing could not be more perfect, quite frankly, to have this releasing now.
The Soviet disinformation and cover-up and propaganda techniques have very much been adopted and adapted and sort of reformed for the modern cyber world. I mean, you can see many of the same patterns. I mean, for example, this desire to divide people, create scapegoats. I mean, this is an very old Soviet tactic.
So basically, someone who's responsible for the deaths of 60 million people, and Donald Trump drawing the line, Victor.
Yeah, that's obscene because Stalin, whether the Great Terror, the purges, or the destruction of the military caste, you're right, he killed 20 million. You know, I don't know why they do that. I just finished a book, The Second World Wars. It's out this week, and I looked at very carefully the wartime leadership of somebody I don't agree with at all, Franklin Roosevelt. And I came to the conclusion it was pretty good. So why would, the historian has certain limitations, and one of the limitations is you don't use your own political beliefs to warp the evidence or to extort or contort your subject matter to make a contemporary statement. I mean, the idea that you compare an elected U.S. president with a mass murderer, and of course that's her version, and we hear Hitler and this. And one last thing is that the Republican establishment looks at Trump and they say, wow, he must have done something to earn this. And they forget that in 2006, Bush was the subject of a novel about how to kill him. There was a docudrama, How to Kill a President. Al Gore called him a brown shirt. The Republican establishment should remember that whoever is president is going to be called Hitler, a racist, a nativist. And it wasn't Trump that earned some unique invective from the left. That's what they do. But yet they think that all of a sudden Trump is deserving of it in a way that all their former heroes who were treated the same way weren't.
Victor Davis Hanson, it is so great to talk to you. I knew you would love the Stalin connection, the attempt to draw the connection to Donald Trump. It's just, when I heard that, I said, this is a new low, an absolute new low. VDH, thank you so much. Great piece in National Review, The Never Trump Construct. It's on our website, lauraingraham.com, and a lot more coming up. You're listening to The Laura Ingraham Show. Remember, go to lauraingraham.com, click on that banner, get your copy of Billionaire at the Barricades. You'll impress all your friends, annoy all your adversaries, and get a lot smarter, laugh all the way through. You're going to love the book. And thanks for all of the reviews on Amazon. Keep them coming. Corker and Flake will continue to sound the same note over the next year and a half or so. And this is what we should just become accustomed to. They do disagree with Donald Trump on substance, but they want to really try to make it about style and tone. And the point is their views, Corker, Flake, McCain, their views are wildly unpopular in the Republican Party. If they were popular in the Republican Party, they wouldn't be stepping aside or ready for retirement. McCain's a different deal because he's battling his cancer and so forth. But Corker and Flake would be there doing battle every day. They'd be happy to be engaged in the war of ideas. But Victor Davis Hanson said this on our show a short while ago, and I think it was a really good point. There's almost nowhere for them to go now. For a time being, they're going to be featured on all of these anti-Trump media platforms, and for a time, that'll be fine. But they're just being used by MSNBC and the like. They're just being used for the moment. So it's like a long one-night stand. And then when they're not useful anymore, they'll move on to something else. But they're just willing dupes here at this point. There's no constituency for it. There's a piece above the fold in the New York Times by Jeremy Peters and Jonathan Martin. Critics give way as the GOP tilts to Trump's orbit. No kidding. He's the president. People are shocked about this. Party with less and less room for older breed of conservative. The establishment.
is in, recession mode. They're receding. Again, I keep thinking, did no one notice what happened last November? Against all predictions, Donald Trump sailed to victory in the Electoral College. Now, he didn't win the popular vote, that's for sure. But we don't have a pure democracy. We have a representative democracy. That means states like Pennsylvania and Ohio and Wisconsin still count. And they still get a say. It's not just ruled by the coast, thank goodness. But this idea that this is some shock, that after they tried to run McCain in 2008, then they went with Romney, who was better than McCain, but still not more of an economic nationalist populist. He goes down in flames. They tried even with this Luther Strange, this poor guy in Alabama. Trump couldn't even pull him over the finish line. They tried with getting Flake with his book, Conscience of a Conservative. That thing just fell flat. And they tried with Eric Cantor. He was going to push the amnesty in 2014 with John Boehner. We're going to finally do amnesty. Well, Cantor goes down. And all these years later, well, this is shocking. It turns like the GOP is tilting toward Trump's orbit. No. They are now being a little bit more pragmatic in the way they deal with these big issues. Now, there's still problems, big problems on the horizon. We're going to give you an immigration update later in the hour because I see some disturbing things happening on that front. Like we're going to do some big DACA deal in the funding budget, get the wall, do the I'm very concerned about that. We'll see what happens, but some of my immigration hawk friends are upset and concerned, and I don't blame them. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. On Wednesday, Joe Straus, the Speaker of the Texas House of Representatives, announced that he would not run again. Another indication that, and this is what they call it in the Times, the Washington fever was spreading. This isn't fever that you want to get. This is not, well, I should say this. Oh, no. Wait a second. I've just thought about this. In a way, it is a fever because what does a fever do? A fever kills a virus. Your body heats up to kill off a virus. Common cold or something that's gotten in your system. Well, it's a populist fever. Maybe it's kind of a populist fever, but it's killing off the old dinosaur GOP, at least putting them back on its heels. I'll tell you, but it's not a bad thing. When you hear fever, it seems like a bad thing. A fever is good. People think you want to pull the fever down only if it gets really, really high. Parents are always give Advil, Tylenol, bring the fever down. Well, the fever serves a purpose. It's killing off. Your body's reacting to a virus. Here's the virus we've been dealing with. Globalization, globalism, unending military intervention. Joe Straus, this is how the New York Times describes him. A pragmatist with deep ties to the Bush administration and the Bush family, who had tangled with his state's hardliners. Again, the populists like Dan Patrick of Texas, he's a hardliner. Okay, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, he's a hardliner, was elected double-digit victory, he and Greg Abbott. The hardliners, he delivered a plea yesterday that Republicans appeal to our diverse population with an optimistic vision. But he still chose flight over fight. Ah! All these men. So now, Flake, Corker, and now Joe Straus, longtime Bush family friend. And he goes out without much of a fight, except to say, well, all you people who disagree with me, you all are just basically anti-immigrant. You don't like people of a different color, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to appeal to our diverse population. I have a question. Since when is the word diversity, in and of itself, by itself, why is that, quote, a virtue? Think about it. Our virtues are freedom, independence, sovereignty, our liberty, virtue, modesty,
chastity, generosity. You know, we're philanthropic when we can be, courageous, brave. Yeah, these are all examples of virtues. Why is diversity in and of itself a virtue? Now, I think Trump should, as I've said before, definitely sell his message of economic nationalism to a wider range of Americans, and that means go to places like Massachusetts, Connecticut, upstate New York. I'd go to Northern California. I'd make the pitch to the entire country. You are the president of all Americans. Your plan will help all of America, not just the upper tier income earners. Your plan of economic nationalism, pragmatic trade, and immigration will actually help more people in the country. The country will be better off. So what the New York Times gets wrong is the real pragmatist here is Trump. He just worked with the Democrats for the temporary lifting of the debt ceiling. He's willing to entertain this idea of a top tax bracket, which is not good for me, I can tell you that. But is that pragmatic? We don't have the savings from Obamacare repeal. Don't have that $800 billion, so we're going to find the money to have this be at least a little bit more revenue neutral for a tax cut. Going to lose all these deductions, so where do you make up the money? Lower the rates, lose deductions, but you still have a big deficit. So, I mean, what's more pragmatic? Thinking, maybe going into Iraq, this crazy quilt of different tribes and in nationalities, religious beliefs, maybe going into Iraq is not a great idea. Or let's go into Iraq and we can work to remake the Middle East. Like, I'd say Trump is much more pragmatic than the Bushes when you look back on it. And even for all of those of us who were for the war in Iraq, I mean, looking back, it seems very idealistic, fanciful thinking to believe that when China becomes a member of the World Trade Organization, that was all going to work out well for manufacturing sectors in the United States. To me, that's not pragmatic at all. That's fanciful, farcical even. 855-40-LAURA. Mr. Strauss's dash for the exits, of course, followed the retirements of Flake and Corker of Tennessee, and Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Layton of Florida, Charlie Dent of Pennsylvania, Pat Tiberi of Ohio, and Dave Reichert of Washington State, all members of the Republican establishment. This is all good news. I had lost track of all those people stepping aside, too. So Trump was wrong about this. This is what Trump was wrong about. Trump's wrong about the idea that we were going to get tired of winning. I love winning. I'm not tired of it at all. I want to see this list grow of people who represent the point of view that dragged our country down. They should move aside. You had your time. You had your chance. Country grew further into debt, weaker on the international stage, and Republican voters grew more disenchanted. So Charlie Dent, Ileana Ross-Layton, Corker, Flake. Who's right here? Is it time to clean house? And Steve Bannon will continue to be demonized, and that's fine. They can do that. But it's not going to change the fact that a lot of these Republican congressmen and senators just didn't represent their people's interests. And they're not popular. When you're not popular, you only have so much time that you're going to be able to be in office. By the way, we have some great news for the president, which, again, didn't get much play in the mainstream media, on the television side at least. Yesterday, a federal judge sided with the Trump administration on Wednesday in a ruling against 18 states that sought to compel the federal government to pay subsidies to health insurance companies for the benefit of millions of low-income people. It appears initially that the Trump administration has a stronger legal argument, says Judge Vince Chiabria of the Federal District Court in San Fran. He refused to issue a preliminary injunction requested by the states, leaving the dispute to be resolved in a trial in his courtroom over the next few months. The states, led by the Attorney General of California, Javier Becerra, big open borders, sanctuary city guy, contend that the payments are needed to prevent chaos and confusion in insurance markets during the annual open enrollment period.
But the judge said at a hearing on Monday that California and other states had found a very clever way to protect their residents against immediate harm from termination of the subsidies by President Trump. And as a result, he said Wednesday, many low-income people will be better off or unharmed. Another win for Trump. That's good news. They tangle with Trump, they're going to invariably not going to be very successful. They had a lousy legal argument here. All right, we'll take a break on the Laura Ingraham Show, 855-40-LAURA. The JFK files are going to be released today, many of them. A lot of speculation over the last 50-plus years. And Donald Trump lets the files go public. Could they finally shed some light, more light, on the JFK assassination? We'll take a break. Don't go away. Do you dread going to the mailbox this time of year? Well, if you're a timeshare owner, I know you do. Another year, another maintenance fee bill that increased, or maybe you've received an additional special assessment this year, too. It's like throwing thousands of dollars down the drain. Well, for the past 6 years, my friends at ResortRelease.com have been helping timeshare owners put an end to those timeshare maintenance fees. They'll help you legally and permanently terminate that timeshare contract and end all future payments guaranteed. They've even earned an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. So go to ResortRelease.com and call them at 855-66-LAURA. ResortRelease.com gives every customer a 100% guarantee that lets you legally and permanently walk away from that timeshare. And if you don't get out of the timeshare contract, you do not pay a dime. 2018's maintenance fee bills will arrive any day, so get out now before you pay that fee. Visit ResortRelease.com or call them at 855-66-LAURA to see if you qualify. 855-66-LAURA. I'd be 50 points up. That's still my favorite soundbite, by the way. Can you get that old one? Anytime I feel a little down, I just think of Hillary making that comment. When she was upset about the media coverage of the email server, she thought the media had been skewed against her during the campaign. This was when she was up in the polls. But she thought she should have been up by 50%. That's a typical delusional thinking of the Clintons.
Why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer.
It's a shock that she didn't win with that mellifluous cadence. Poor Hillary. Did they ever figure out why she kept feigning? Maybe she needs a nap. Maybe she just needed to nap more. A lot of you are calling in about napping because I said, I need to learn to nap with my new schedule. The show starts Monday. Now, I want you to DVR it. Some of you on the East Coast might go to sleep before 10 p.m., and I understand that. Maybe get up early, or maybe you just like to go to sleep early. But do me a favor, DVR the show so you can watch it. You're going to love the show. So DVR it, and just DVR it keep it on your, DVR. And then you can watch it the next morning in the kitchen or whatever. But you're going to love the show. And the good thing is on the West Coast, you have 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 8. Central, let me do the math, 9. Takes me a while to add 3. I was never good at math. When I look at my kids' math, like Maria's only in 6th grade, I start seeing the symbols, I get vertigo. Whoa, going back to trigonometry. They even teach trigonometry anymore. What a worthless, that's the most worthless subject. Cotangent, tangent. Now then they got the calculators, and you can just do it all on the calculator. That was a dumb. I still don't even know what it means, cotangent, tangent. Do you remember, Lisa? Tangent, cotangent. What was the point of all of that?
I remember, but I never got it right.
I never understood it. I never understood math. I'm just not a math person. And calculus, I still get hives when I think about calculus.
Maybe that's the solution to your nap problem. Just help Maria with her math homework. You'll go
And
right
I
to
immediately
sleep.
fall asleep. You know where I do fall asleep? I fall asleep in movies. It's very relaxing because usually they're so boring. I don't never go to the theater. Maybe I should just go to a theater and sleep. That's actually not a bad idea. Go to like a foreign film or something and just sleep in the afternoon before I pick up my kids at school.
And then get a huge tub of popcorn with, butter all over it.
Very funny. Elise has gone to films with me before. It's like, let's just get a little popcorn because if I eat too much, I get a stomachache. And of course, invariably, you get the supersized popcorn. And there's something about popcorn. They do something with that butter and salt. I inhale popcorn. Chris hates popcorn, by the way.
Really?
Chris is like, I can't stand the smell. It's like, who are you? How do you not like popcorn? He said, I can't stand popcorn. But he puts up with me eating it. It's like somebody who doesn't like ice cream. How do you not like ice cream? How do you not like popcorn? I love popcorn. Go to see if Alexis can go get us some popcorn.
But I'm telling you, I've got to learn to sleep. A lot of you called in about napping, and I couldn't get to your calls. How do you nap? What is my remedy for napping? I'm not a napper, and I need to learn to nap. And Larry Sabato is going to join us. We have a lot more to get to. JFK Files released today. You who've listened to my show for any length of time know what I believe about Food for the Poor. Just simply one of the finest group of individuals that I've ever met. Why? Because they put themselves in the back seat. They put real philanthropy in the front. And helping people who are truly desperately in need. I've seen it firsthand in Guatemala. I'm going to see it later on, probably early next year, in the Caribbean. Food for the Poor gets help directly to the poorest of the poor. And also helps them learn to help themselves through great entrepreneurship programs and so forth. And this is where individuals, not government, can make a difference in people's lives. So last year we were able to save, I think in general, I think it was 2,400, kids in Guatemala. And this year, the Caribbean is our focus. They really need your help after these hurricanes. So just to remind you, $50 provides food for a year and clean water for life for a single child. A gift of $250, a lot of you can afford that, does the same for an average-sized family. Remember, Food for the Poor, amazing team. They help those most in need. No one does the work better, not that I've seen at least. You can call them at 844-868-4673. Again, 844-868-4673. Or go to lauraingraham.com. Please give what you can. Every gift matters. lauraingraham.com, you'll see that photo of mine with the Food for the Poor banner. What is the government hiding? Well, maybe we'll get some sense of this. Today, Donald Trump releases JFK documents from the assassination investigation. In just a moment, we're going to get to Larry Sabato from the University of Virginia on what this means for historians and conspiracy theorists. Let's go to Jeff first in Arizona. Jeff, you've been very patient because I've been soliciting my listeners' assistance in my quest to nap. How do I learn to nap? I am not a napper. I'm getting up way too many times during the night, and it's not just to go to the bathroom. Thank you very much. I just get up like 3 or 4 times, and then you can't get back to sleep.
Laura.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, Laura, what you got to do is cut the oxygen off to your brain. And how you do this is through controlled breathing. No, you just cut the oxygen by controlled breathing.
There are a lot of people who'd like to cut the oxygen to her brain, but...
Okay, listen, it's controlled, though. You just take a deep breath in, you hold it, and then you let it out slowly, and then don't take another breath in right away. Wait a little bit, and then take a breath in, and then hold it again. Repeat this process. When you let your air out, don't take a breath in.
Until you die. You have brain death.
Right out.
No, Jeff, I see I just did it as you said that. And my brother Brooks has said this to me before. Breathing exercises, and I did try to do that last night, but then I got bored. I did try to do it, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it better. I think I'm going to go on YouTube because I've seen those breathing videos on YouTube. But how many seconds do you hold the breath in for? I'm going to do it right now. You keep talking. Go ahead, Jeff.
Just a short period of time, just a little bit longer than you normally would. I mean, you don't want to do it too long, but then when you let it out, it's important not to take a breath in right away. And then you'll get this euphoric feeling, just like being high on some type of drug.
Are you drinking?
It's great.
You sound like you're half in the bag. I mean, honestly, I'm just teasing you, Joe. You know my sense of humor. I'm going to tease. Do you do this several times a day?
Well, whenever you're in need of that power nap and you want to recharge yourself, it's like a supercharge. On like 10, 20 minutes of sleep, you're good for, you wake up feeling like, boy, I feel just super,
Do you nap every day? Are you napping now?
No, I hardly ever sleep. I'm like Trump.
You don't sleep.
Go.
So not sleeping brings on Alzheimer's. I'm convinced of it. Where am I? Who is this? I appreciate it, Jeff. Joining us now, Larry Sabato. Must just say, why am I even here at this point? Why am I even on this show? But that's all right. Larry's known me for long enough to know. It's madcap, Larry. You never know where this is going to go. How you doing? Good to talk to you.
I'm doing great, Laura. And look, I live on the university lawn in one of the pavilions.
Yes.
And it's noisy here until the students finally go to bed around 4. Get one of those wave crashing machines. The ocean waves. Let me tell you, it works. That's the only way I've been able people that live here for 14 years.
So you have it so loud in your room that it drowns out the kids whooping and hollering on the lawn?
You got it. And, of course, I grew up on the ocean, so maybe that's part of it. But it was wonderful. I find it to be really relaxing, and I have a deep sleep. I recommend it, and I have no stock in any of these companies.
Okay, so Larry, when I was in Botswana this summer with the kids, there was such loud frog sounds at night. I'm talking the hippos groaning and grunting and whatever the hippos do, barking. I don't know what they do. They were thrashing around in the water right near our tent, and then the frogs. I wish I had, I'm not kidding you, I wish I had taped it with my iPhone. I kept saying, oh my God, I record this on my iPhone. And I didn't do it. But Larry, I actually, after a couple of days, I got really used to it. We moved on to another camp and the frogs weren't as loud and I didn't sleep as well. Isn't that interesting?
No, you get used to certain sounds. It's probably true for me. In the beginning, when I moved here, I had a terrible time sleeping, even with the machine. But now, maybe I am just used to them all streaking until 4 a.m. and they always yell. This is the part that bothers me. I don't care about their streaking that much. Don't tell the university I said that. But what I do care about is the fact that they always have to yell, "I'm naked." See, we know that. That goes along with streaking. We realize they're naked. It's not necessary to do that.
How did we get from sleeping to streaking at the University of Virginia? I'm confused. I'm going to put my wave machine.
Larry, maybe they should take that black shroud they put over poor Thomas Jefferson and put it over the streakers instead.
No, it is too ugly for the UVA lawn or anything else, really.
By the way, you have the original windows from the 1700s in your?
I do.
Right? They're so ripply. They're old-fashioned windows.
They're old-fashioned windows, and mine is the last pavilion with original radiators. I will not let them take them out. All the other ones have controlled temperature gauges and that kind of thing. But if I'm going to live in a Jeffersonian pavilion, I'm going to live with radiators. And I love them even though they're a ton of trouble. You have to adjust them every winter day in every room.
I love the radiators.
But it's good exercise.
No, I love the radiators. In my old house in Glastonbury in Connecticut, we had this Rambler, and it had those electric radiators on the the ugly ones that always collect dust.
Yes.
But every time we turned the heat on, it would be like clang, 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 clang. It's like this loud. It's like, oh, this is such a pleasant sound as you're falling asleep. Anyway.
Well, it's better than the hippos, right?
No, I love the hippos. Let's move on to JFK. Okay. From hippos to streaking to JFK. Sure. So what are we going to see in these documents? I mean, you expect any blockbuster about the grassy knoll or what?
No. I don't. I do expect some critical details. Remember, it's 3,100 files, assuming the president lets them all come out, and I'm fingers crossed. He's hinted that he wants to let them all come out. I don't know what the CIA director is arguing to him this morning. You never know. Up till the last minute, the president has the right to withhold any of those files if he so declares it. But if it's 3,100 documents, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of pages. So I would caution everybody listening to you to remember that anybody who gives you or claims to give you a comprehensive instant analysis of this document or that document is being irresponsible. You have to put these pieces together. It's going to take weeks and months to really study this and to put those pieces together.
The book depository. You've been there in Dallas, Larry?
Oh, about 150 times, yes.
Yeah, it's I only was there one time at the museum.
Fantastic.
It is. They've done a really good job. If you've never had a chance to do that in Dallas, go. It's
people
chilling.
Should go. It's chilling, and people are going to be shocked by what they see because in our minds, this crime was so monstrous that we imagine this as a space as big as Times Square. In fact, it's tiny. It's tiny, and when you get up to you go up to the window. You can't go to the one Oswald used. That's walled off with glass. You can see it. But you go to the next window without getting too detailed or macabre. I think almost anybody, even somebody without arms training, could have pulled off the shot. It's really not hard. It's not very far down to the road.
And you know what I thought was very odd about it is that it looks the same. The grassy area, the knoll, so-called knoll, looks exactly the same. Hasn't changed at all.
Well, they've preserved it. At one point, Dallas was so ashamed about what had happened, as though they were responsible. Mm-hmm. Oswald wasn't even from there, and if you believe that others were involved, they weren't from there either. But they almost tore down the school book depository, which would have been a crime. And thank goodness they chose instead to allow it to be converted into a museum. And it's superb. As you said, I encourage everyone to go.
Larry, not to bring up like an old sore subject, but during the campaign, there was that story about Ted Cruz's...
I know what you're going to talk about.
No, I wasn't talking about you. I was not talking about your predictions. No, the crystal ball shattered. We all knew that.
Thank you.
I'm just teasing you. I'm totally teasing you.
I know.
I love Sabato. Everybody knows this.
Too, wasn't I? I was alone, too. Nobody
else got it wrong, Larry.
That's right. Nobody got it wrong. It was just me. I've taken the hit.
No, I'm totally teasing. I wasn't even bringing that up. I was bringing up the point that of the JFK assassination, where there was the pamphleting picture of Cruz's. They say, "Oh, this looks like Ted Cruz's father," right? Yeah. With Oswald. Where in Cuba or something? Where was that? Did we ever get to the bottom of that?
That was in New Orleans.
And
it listen, I ran that by a number of people who are good at analyzing photographs, and I was told 100% chance it is not Ted Cruz's father. Now, I got to tell you something. I had something to do with that incidentally and not intentionally. Ted Cruz came to my Big 101 class in 2014, I believe it was, spring of 2014. And he came into my pavilion, and because I've researched this so much, I've got a bunch of assassination materials up on the wall. He went immediately to it, and he said, "Oh, I'm fascinated by this. I've studied it." I said, "Really? You're much too young." He says, "Oh, no, my father was there that day." I said, "Your father was there?" He said, "Yes, he was working in a restaurant. I think he said he was a dishwasher. And it was right on the motorcade route in downtown Dallas, and the boss of the restaurant allowed all of the workers, including Rafael Cruz, to go out to the road to see the motorcade pass. And sure enough, he saw President and Mrs. Kennedy and Governor and Mrs. Connolly in the car, went back to work. A couple minutes later, Kennedy was killed and Connolly was shot. So he was in Dallas, but he would have had to have been a world champion Olympic sprinter to have gotten over to Dealey Plaza and participated in the assassination. It's just ridiculous. Really, it is.
Was that like a National Enquirer deal?
That was National Enquirer. So, right there, with all due respect to them, I think you can question the credibility of some of the stories there, right?
Yeah, they got they got John Edwards right, and some of the Lewinsky stuff right.
Yeah, they did get John Edwards. No, they deserve credit for that.
But some of this other stuff is just a little bit wild. But
beyond the pale.
It is pretty amazing that Trump and Cruz kind of made up, or Cruz made up with Trump after all that. I mean, that's a pretty rough deal.
That's politics. Actually, it's one of the good things about politics. I always kid people, making up is easy and making new friends is easy in politics because in politics we specialize in shallow relationships.
Yeah, that
was a joke.
I get it. No, I just got it. Well, speaking of, Ted Cruz came to my. I had a launch thing for my show that's launching on Monday, and Cruz came yesterday. I said, "Man, you look healthier, younger, better now that you're not running for president." He said, "Everybody's saying that." I said, "The campaign kills you. This campaign is brutal."
Oh, it's brutal.
No, but it was.
It's amazing 17 people wanted to do it on the Republican side. No. I mean, it's incredible to me. Of course, it's ambition, and that's a good thing. We want people to run for office, but most of us could never survive a campaign, much less win one.
Jeff Flake's speech on the Senate floor was described by some, mostly people who hate Trump, as one of the best speeches, most memorable speeches in the history of speech giving in the U.S. Senate. How would you rank it?
It's pure polarization, just exactly what you said. If you like Trump, you thought it was one of the worst speeches ever. If you hate Trump, you thought it was should be put on Mount Rushmore. He should be put on Mount Rushmore. Look, people kept saying, "Oh, this would go in Profiles in Courage." Well, that happens to be a book that I've studied, and the authors, they were plural. It was John F. Kennedy and Ted Sorensen, who wasn't on the cover. There's no way that would have been included because it wasn't giving speeches. It was actions that made a difference. And if he ran and lost, okay, then you could say he fought the good fight. But he and Corker are leaving. I mean, that says something.
Imagine if John Adams had that same idea in 1776. This is too hard.
Exactly.
I got to go.
Yeah. I got to go. We'll leave it to other people.
No, it's ridiculous. Larry Sabato, would love having you on. I want to come to the pavilion. You always say you're going to invite me, and I'm not getting any invite.
I want you to come down here, and congratulations on your new show, by the way.
Thank you. I think we'll do it down at UVA. Does that sound fun?
Come down here. It'll be a lot of fun. I'd love that.
I can't wait, and just keep the protesters away. I'm actually fun. I'm not. They shouldn't protest me. I'm actually, I'm really good at ultimate frisbee. I could play that on the lawn with them. I used to do that in my day. Larry Sabato, always great talking to you. We'll take a break. Close out this.